Hello everyone, this is Fuzzy Sheep 12. Today is November 3rd, and this will be the third entry for Hypnovember 2025. Today's theme is confusion. So, what really is confusion? How does your mind react when someone tells you something and you try to follow along, but you just can't quite grasp it? There's that stumble your mind almost does, a reeling sensation of what did I miss? What's going on? How do I continue with this? So, if I were to simply tell you to just drop down, but then said, no, wait, actually, I'm just kidding, don't, you might experience this feeling of confusion. Equally so, what if I were to tell you, go halfway down, where your mind starts to feel cloudy, where you start to feel comfy, cozy, but not fully dropped down. Because there's a moment of what does halfway truly mean? Am I gonna feel comfy but my mind won't be in trance? Will I feel half trancy and maybe out of it a little bit? What does halfway in trance mean for you? And that kind of adds to the confusion, especially if I tell you, well, why don't you go a quarter into trance, or 3/4 into trance, or how is this all starting to add up in your mind? Are you starting to drift and drop deeper by each minute, each second, each word you hear me say? Are you following along? Really? Truly? What did I just say? Oh, you were still thinking about the numbers? What numbers? The fractions? The decimals? Going halfway down? Going halfway up? Going a quarter down, a quarter up? Well, that just kind of evens out now, doesn't it? And if we truly talk about confusion, how does that happen? Besides the overall facts that your mind kind of just can't follow along, does the person that's confusing people have to also be confused? Because theoretically speaking, if the person confusing someone is confused, then it's easier for them to confuse the person who's being confused because they're already confused. They don't need to think about each and every single word they say because they just say things in random orders that can confuse the person that's listening. Right? That's right. So go halfway down, come halfway up, go a quarter down and a quarter up. Ah, that evened out really nice, didn't it? Well, why don't you go 1.5 down? Just like that. What does that feel like? You're down, but you're down more than you're down? Because it's 1, and 1 is absolute. That means you're down, right? So if I said, why don't you go twice as deep down? That's obviously a double, because if 1 is down and you add another 1, then you're double down. But all of these numbers start to kind of gather and confuse you just a little bit, because you're not really sure how it all adds up. You don't need to think about how it all adds up right now. All your mind needs to do is stay a little bit confused, stay a little bit fuzzy and fractionated here, and just go with the flow. Just drop, just sink, just follow along. Just remain in that state where you're not really sure if you're up or down. In fact, are you up or are you down? Have you been paying attention to the random speeds, the random tones, the random confusion that's been put into my tone? Because if you were picking up on that, then surely it would start to have an effect on you to quite a degree, I would assume, because most people, when they hear someone say something in a confusing way, like, I'm not sure. Really? Are you sure? Have you really thought about that? You thought about dropping down even deeper? You start to overthink everything else yourself, because if they're confused, then maybe it's not as clear as you thought. Maybe you should also be confused, and maybe you need to use that confusion to find a segment where you can be sure. But the only thing that you're sure of right now is you're definitely dropping. You're definitely down. You're definitely cozy. You're definitely comfy. But where will that lead you when I tell you to drop even deeper down? Just like that. Well, now you have a resolve. You're down. Truly. You've understood that. You're deep. You sunk all the way down. So what if I were to theoretically try to count you up, and I'd be like, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, but then I just go -3, down, just like that. What happened? Did you drop back to the regular amount? Because I did technically count up to 3, but then I said -3. So was I telling you to go all the way to -3? Or did you subtract 3 from the 3 that I already told you? That's the curious thing about your mind. You're more than welcome to do whatever feels best for you. So maybe your mind is just kind of settled at a perfect trance state. Maybe your mind is 3 times deeper than we originally thought. And all these words kind of just flooding your mind. You're just really not sure anymore, because why do you need to be sure when someone else is guiding you? You just listen so very well. And when I say to drop, you drop. And then when I count different numbers, you try to focus and figure out what leads to what and what means what and where does it all go. But you don't have to. You really don't. And I think as we're gathering close to the end of this, I'll let your mind have a moment of rest, and I'll just give a slight ramble about how absolutely relaxed you feel. In fact, all of that confusion that you felt, all of it, in the complete and total amount, can just disappear right now. Just let that completely fade from your mind, feeling completely at peace, not thinking at all, letting it all go. Because you did such a good job of being confused that I think that warrants for a break. In fact, you deserve such a complete break from that confusion that you're more than allowed to drop into whatever trance state you feel is perfect for you in this moment now. Just like that. Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely perfect. And in a moment I'll count you back up to 5. But just allow yourself a moment to relax and vibe just right here. After all, that was quite confusing. So, without further ado then, let's start the count up with 1, 2, 3, 0. Oh dear, was that confusing too? Well, let's try it again for real this time. 1, 2, 3, we're halfway there this time. 4, make sure you start to feel the room around you struggle to come up again. Take that nice deep breath in. And as you let it out, you hit 5 and you come all the way awake, taking absolutely as much time as you need to come fully up. Awesome. Thank you for listening to today's file.